Aloha, and welcome to another Candid Conversation. We're joined today, and I'm most pleased to do this, with Helena Sjogren in Sweden. Good evening, Helena. How are you today?
Good evening, Ron. I'm fine, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. And it's rather interesting. I'm in Honolulu, you're in Stockholm. That's probably about 8,000 miles apart. And the sound at times is going to waver in and out. So I hope the audience will bear with us. Elena's with Reedz, which is an artificial intelligence-based business that takes things from Word documents into audio tracks. And we are conducting together a beta test to determine the viability of how this works with Learning Without Scars. So that's going to be the root of our conversation with Helena. So perhaps you can start, Helena, with tell us a little bit both about yourself and also about Reedz.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. I'm, as you said, I'm living in Stockholm. I come from a background of startup and scale-ups within different industries. I have been working with, digital companies as long as I can remember. And now I'm one of the co-founders of Reedz, which I'm super happy. And I live outside Stockholm. I'm mother of 3 boys. So I have, Reedz is taking a lot of time, but then on my spare time, I do mostly sports, running around and driving the car between soccer practice, hockey practice, and floorball. So that is like, a short version of how my life is these days.
You have a full life.
And yeah, I have, but I love it, and I'm have a huge background myself within sports. I played soccer and basketball even as an adult. So I that is, I'm super happy for my kids that they are also having this huge interest, and my husband as well is a former hockey player, and that is what we do. And now we also do a lot of other things together, like that's included in this, and I feel also that I have a huge support from my family doing this things with Reedz and some of all these startup ideas and projects that I'm involved with.
Right.
So talking a bit short about Reedz is actually that it's a company that was it's pretty young, started back in December 2020. John, who is also the original founder, and now also we have a founding team with 8 people, and we come from the background of really try to create a huge library of our audio, do that in a very cost efficient way, and also you need to use technology. So what we have done now is that we have actually created an artificial intelligence, as you said, which create text to speech. I think that's the most common formal way of using that expression in the industry. But what we have done so far is that we also have been able to create a quality in the voice. It's very close to human, and you know that you've heard it yourself, and you can tell that sometimes it's hard to make the
Right.
It's hard to tell the difference if it is a machine or a human. So what we're doing now is that we are growing a huge audiobook library. We're doing it right now, and the official numbers is like 50 plus languages and dialects, which is on our growing very fast. So I can tease you a bit and say that we will very soon be able to cover all the people in the world in their first or second language. So, but don't tell anyone that I said that. So what we do now is that we also have this consumer services where we have a big version of an app where you can listen to management literature, summaries, and then also a lot of other type of topics like parenting and health and that. And that library is continue to growing, which is like that we really have the vision of building the biggest library in the world. That is our ambition. But then on the other hand, we also have companies that really need to be able to scale their, the reach in more languages, and doing that with readers and human actors and stuff like that. That's not always the most cost efficient way of doing it. So I think that's where we touch base together with Learning Without Scars, and I'm super thrilled, and this journey has just started, and I can see that we have such great things ahead of us as well, even if we come this far.
Yes, and that's what we saw as well. One of the things, our library of learning tools, if you will, is in English, French, and Spanish, is the foundation. And what I saw with Reedz was the opportunity for us to be able to determine what should be the fourth language by expanding. At the moment, we do English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese with Reedz, and we put 50 documents out there that'll be on the Reedz site. We have 10 documents, 20% of the content is on Learning Without Scars, kind of a taste treat, if you will. And we have a link on our website directly over to Reedz, which in earlier discussions, Helena and I were talking about, we should have that link go straight to the app so that the people that are looking from our site would download the app and make it easier for our clients to be able to see things on Reedz. And you offer, I think, a free trial for a period of time at the beginning. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And the procedure is very straightforward. It's just like, any app, and regardless if you are on iOS or if you're on Android, you just download the app and then you can register and go through that process, and then you will have a free month where you can listen to everything for that month. And then if you like to continue, we also have a very competitive pricing model here. We're not talking about like audiobook services. They charge like $20 per month. Here is more like $4 to $6 per month. So that's also one of the things that we really want to make sure that everyone can take part of this library and also use it for their personal development, and it's not gonna be a matter if you can afford it or not.
Yeah, that's what I saw when we were first talking about it. I ran into Reedz because of a relationship that I had with a lady, one of, I think, your 8, who I worked with at Volvo. And when I was doing training for them, and we seem to have a similar goal in mind. We're trying to create a platform of resources, let me just call it that way, for anybody who wants to achieve what we aim at, is help people identify their potential and then give them the tools and the paths whereby they can achieve their potential. And I think it's a very similar track that we're both on, which is what appealed to me. And I don't know what the fourth language should be that we develop. English, French, and Spanish are pretty common across the planet, but there's a lot of people that don't speak those 3 languages, and I didn't know which number 4 should be. And I'm wanting to use Reedz as a platform to determine which one it should be. So that's what our motivation was. And I'm, like you say, it's almost impossible to determine whether it's a computer talking or a person. It's remarkable. So congratulations. That's quite an accomplishment.
Oh, thank you very much. And I think that is also, I really hope that more people will listen, and because what I meet every day that people think that because it's a computer voice, it need to be, very bad, like, old Alexa or Siri or whatever it is. It's like robotics. But for this kind of, fact-based literature, then you cannot tell the differences.
Right.
It's not for fiction, because reading fiction might be, you need to have an actor doing that. But for like, fact-based literature, this is a very, very good way for everyone to take part, regardless if you're speaking, Hindi or Swahili or English.
Yes. Yeah. So, we gave you 50, I believe, Word documents that you've converted. Everybody can see all 50 on our website in English, and the Europeans seem to like the British accent better than the American accent. So we've got English two ways, one American, one British. And then we've got 10 French, Portuguese, and Spanish, which we can get once the link is established over to Reedz, they can get all 50 in those languages as well. And then it's a race to go two directions. One, add more languages with the original 50, and two, add more documents to the original 50 so that we get to 100, 200, whatever the number is. So that's kind of, I think, where we are very much alike and aimed at the same thing. And like you're a startup, we're in the internet-based learning, we're rather young as well. I guess starting in January of 2020, we've had about 2,800 products, classes, or assessments sold. And so we're starting to get the traction going. I'm hopeful this year we'll have 5,000, next year 10,000. It's a matter of scaling, which is your specialty, or one of them. And I suspect the same thing's true with Reedz. Looking commercially, some of the other languages, Chinese, Japanese, Swahili, unfortunately not Hawaiian, have very few commercial items available, but that we can change. So it's an exciting time to be with you. It's early in your business life and early in ours.
Yeah, and I think that's what I really like with this collaboration, Ron, is that we're doing it in this MVP way of doing it, and we are also had a good like start now, and then we will also measure and test and see how we go forward, and I think also the content that you're bringing to Reedz is very, very much important, and it's also very also towards our target audience that we have tried to reach now in our first, where we have people who are very keen on learning new stuff within
It's an interesting thing. We were talking earlier before this recording that I used to be the youngest person in almost every room I was in for the longest period of time, and it shocked me when I wasn't. But the reason that I bring that up is my generation, the boomers, and even to some degree the millennials, aren't attuned to the Gen X and Gen Z. This is right down their alley. This is where things are. A close friend of mine has 13 patents where he can control your screen, not with your keyboard, but with his eyeball. So we have no idea what technologies, where it's going to take us and how it's going to influence our lives. Other than we do know that the use of this tool, the internet, I started using it in 1973, believe it or not. And all that was on the internet in those days was banks, financial institutions, and large governments. And it was really easy to get around. The search was not an issue. Response was not an issue. teleprocessing speed, band rates were ridiculously low, 30 baud. Well, today, you can flip almost everything instantaneously. The problem is democratizing content so that somebody in the depths of Colombia or India or the Arctic in Canada or Africa, who can go to a library, can have access to the same material that everybody in the world has, or any specialist in the world has. That's not been true for long. So Gen Z, Gen X, this is perfect for them. An interesting statistic. Today in North America, I don't know Europe at the moment, today in North America, 93% of the transactions, commercial transactions, are first initiated with an inquiry online. So if you don't have an online presence, you're going to be missing a whole heck of a lot of business in the future. The other thing that's interesting in North America, over 90% of the purchasing commercial transactions are being conducted by millennials, Gen Z, and Gen X. So my generation, we're done. We're out the other side. We're risk averse. We're change resistant. These younger folks, they want to get with the program right now.
And they want it fast, and they
Yes,
want
ma'am.
it now.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yeah, don't, what, how come I'm waiting? What is this?
No, but I think I think that's a super cool thing now that we're actually doing this, because there is so many opportunities for edtech and,
Yeah.
and education overall, and
Yep.
also, you know, being able to use the global presence that you can have for real. You don't need to travel to a new market to enter that market. I think that is one of the biggest upsides with the globalization, is that if you just are aware of the tools you can use and how you can use it, and you also are open to test. That's like my mantra: test, do it, try it, and then some of things it will not work, but then you need to kill your darlings. So it's better to go for it and try it, and then make sure that you did it, because if you didn't even try, then you I think that is the mistake, that not trying.
Yeah, I think we're at the beginning, and this is a little nasty comment. I think we're at the beginning of what I'm going to call lifelong learning. My generation and perhaps the older millennials used to consider that when you left school, your learning stopped. And my contention has always been that when you leave school, the learning begins. In school, you get a foundation that gives you the tools to be able to proceed in your personal development. And it's, and Lena in one of your other members has heard me say this. If somebody tells you have a lot of potential at 16, that's a heck of a compliment. It's wonderful. But if they tell you that and you're 66, you have to wonder what you've been doing the last 50 years. So, we need to give people the tools if they want. I can't, there's a large portion of the population that won't be interested in this. No. But the population that is, we need to be able to give them the tools such that they can go out and expand it. And if you're not failing, you're not pushing the edge. You got to fail. It's okay, get up, change, modify, here we go. And our rate of change is now skyrocketing on an exponential curve that scares the devil out of a lot of people. At some point it'll scare me, but not yet.
No. But I think that is actually a feeling. It's just a feeling. It's the feeling of fear. Yep. And you need just to make sure that I don't know what tool you use, but if you can breathe through it, or if you can just try to somehow manage that feeling, then the rewards are so much bigger on the other side, I would say.
Yeah, one of my favorite comments is, what would you do if you weren't afraid? Take fear off the table. What do you want to do? And if we do that, there's the openings and the possibilities are endless. And that's how we got, as a species, that's how we got where we are, but we have a long way to go. It's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I think it's very interesting also that you're bringing up these audiences that you talk about, because it's not for everyone. It's for the people who are actually self-motivated, or who also have an inner drive. But I think also one thing that often isn't mentioned in this, as like, when you're talking about successful people, but I would also like to highlight curiosity.
Yes. Yes.
Stay curious all your life. Stay curious. That is like, if I was like, giving some kind of advice to my kids, I would say that continue to be curious. That is always, I think that is often forgotten in this, when you talk about the qualities you should have for being a, doing some kind of success, or what you should call it. So that what I would say, stay curious.
Yeah, the question why is an important one. And when you stop asking why, the answer to the question why is not because, which is a lot of people say the answer to the question why is why not. And curiosity is a key driver to that. And, one of our colleagues and contributors is a gentleman by the name of Ed Gordon, who's written about 20 books. He's got a couple of PhDs. I don't want him to hear me say he's a rather smart man, because he'll never get through the door. His head will get so big, but he has a comment. And I think it's a prediction that is reasonably accurate, that by 2030, half of the US workforce will not have the skills to be employable. So on top of this transition to curiosity being satisfied, lifelong learning enacted, we have the fear sociologically of how will we as societies look after the people that are not employable anymore. So there's a whole host of things that are coming along with this change that are below the surface of the water, that are going to start popping up, which we're going to have to deal with. But at the moment, what you're doing in providing a fact-based platform with wonderful voice translations, and what we're doing providing content to our specific industries, it's the beginning. There will be a lot more of this from a lot of different sources. And it's all aimed at the same thing, helping people get better at what they are professionally and personally.
Yeah, but also I think you mentioned something that I think it's also for this, is the democratization. What did you say? Democratization.
Democratization. Yeah.
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 Democratization. So you see,
English is a strange language.
Yeah, sorry for that.
No.
It's getting late here in. No, but I think that is a super important thing here, because we have right from before this, there was just, the big publishing houses who sat on this content, and they also were the ones who decided what to be published. But now everyone can be a writer, everyone can be a content provider, and I think also that is one of the biggest, things that I see that we want to achieve with Reedz, is that we want to democratize, learning, and make sure that everyone can take part of, this kind of education or self-developing content, or whatever it is. And it shouldn't be a matter of your income. It shouldn't be a matter of where you live, etc. So I think that is something very important to this, and we're doing this together.
You make a really valid point. Over my work life, you have seen in publishing houses, their goals are to make money. So they've created stars. So if I look at a publishing house, there might be 20 authors, might be 10, might be 50. But there's thousands of them that don't see the light of day because an editor somewhere didn't think this could be commercially viable for the publishing house. And I understand that, but publishing houses have a finite life as well. The book printing business is under serious challenge. Just think for a moment about stamps on envelopes and mail and what happened when instant messaging and email arrived. I can see the day 50 years from now, stamps will no longer be there. Snail mail will no longer be there. Books is the same type of thing. I like history, so I have to, it's very hard for me to get books written for society in 3500 BC. There's very few places, but I can get them online. And they're now being transferred from documents in paper. They're being scanned and made available. Now you can go from text to voice. It's just imagine when every document ever written is available online in audio format, in voice format. Then imagine that every person on the planet, people running around with editing shoes on that might be only have one meal a day, can go to a library and for free access that. And I used to talk about how many Einsteins are there in Africa. And if you've got a number system in Africa that's 1, 2, many, 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 what happens if those folks get educated or provided the educational tools that, how many more Einsteins are there? And how much more can they help the human race get better at life and everything else? It's a path. And I think this is terrific. I wish you all the luck in the world and hope together we can be successful at this process.
Yeah, I really think this is something to also, like, as I don't know if anyone had read the blog post that I wrote for you the other week, but I think that is also that this is a game changer for the whole education industry. So and I'm super excited to be part of that.
Yeah, and yes, there's been over 1,000 people read on our website your blog post, let alone on the other social media that we put things up on. And I encourage you to give me more, because the more we can expose Reedz and other thinking, the better we're at. What have we missed anything on explaining and describing Reedz and the relationship between Reedz and Learning Without Scars?
No, I think we have covered it all, but I think also that during the following weeks now there will be updates that you were right about, and so I would just say that if someone already now want to try, it's just go to your normal place where you download the app and try it out. Bear with us because it's a beta version, because it's also like, we are also a startup company, but there is a lot of good content there, and more coming from you, Ron, any day now, and also the coming weeks. I think that was all, and I'm super grateful for this conversation that we have, and I have really enjoyed it, Ron.
Well, thank you. I have enjoyed it as well, and I think we've done a reasonably good job of introducing it to everybody. So to the audience listening, thank you for listening. To Helena, thank you for participating and helping us. And I look forward to having further conversations with you. And to the audience, tune in for the next Candid Conversation. In Hawaiian, we say for thank you, mahalo.